So heading into Sunday's game at Levi Stadium against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Niners sitting pretty right now. Number 3 seed in the NFC with a lot to play on this Niners schedule. But could they be making some key roster moves and really working off of some of the adjustments that they made in that most impressive all-around win of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars? San Francisco making those adjustments against Jacksonville, and we were able to see the benefits of them. So really, that's what we're breaking down on today's show, and we want to pose this question and really look at it from this standpoint. Are those changes going to be permanent? We have numbers to get to. Quotes from head coach Kyle Shanahan, don't you dare go anywhere. If you haven't subscribed, do so right now, by the way. We're up past 100,000 subscribers. We surpassed that milestone last week, but we're not settling for that. Let's continue to grow the program here and hit that sub button if you want daily Niners coverage. So the lineup changes that I want to get to on today's show. There were a lot of them that took place coming out of the bye week for San Francisco. Ambry Thomas moved to outside cornerback. Deommodore Lenoir went from the outside to slot nickel. Isaiah Oliver got yanked and benched. Jon Feliciano started at left guard in place of Aaron Banks, who is injured. And could we also see a change at right tackle? We're talking about all 5 of these coming up here on the program here today. And you have to start with this grouping to begin. Changes at the cornerback position. Deommodore Lenoir to the slot, as I mentioned, with Ambry Thomas sliding to the outside. Isaiah Oliver, our eyes are not subjected to seeing him get toasted every single time that he gets targeted. And could this be the new look secondary moving forward in the 2023 season? You had Ambry Thomas at left corner. You had Deommodore Lenoir in the slot, Talanoa Hufanga and Tashaun Gipson manning the 2 safety positions, and then Charvarius Ward, he was the other outside cornerback. And Kyle Shanahan had this to say about his defensive back setup. I thought they did well. I thought Deommodore Lenoir flew around, made a number of plays in that nickel spot. I thought Ambry had some real good plays too, especially the turnover causing that fumble. He would have had a touchdown if it wasn't for a couple of people, not including myself, coming onto the field. But I was real happy with those guys, and hopefully they'll continue to get better. Now, we segue to the question that we posed just moments ago. Are these changes going to be permanent? It certainly worked against Jacksonville because, as I alluded to a little bit ago, I do think that this Niners performance against the Jags, the most all-around performance that we've seen from this football team this year, even better than that performance that we saw on Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. But we showed you that secondary, and we want to hear from you down in the comment section here. Treat it like a Sports Talk Radio call-in line. Should that be the permanent secondary for this club? Y for yes or N for no. Feel free to be bold about it and share your opinions in the comments section. Today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. $100 deposit match if you head to prizepicks.com/CLNS. This is the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America, and it's the only app that you should be using if you're into DFS. Producer Chip and I have won 25 times our money during this football season. You pick 2+ players. You choose more or less on their projected stat lines, and some of the plays that we like on Tuesday night, NBA action, a little bit early in the NFL week. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Taco Tuesday special, more than 27.5 points per game. Bruce Brown, more than 2.5 assists. LaMelo Ball, more than 24.5 points. And Joel Embiid, if he suits up for the Sixers, more than 49.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's been playing at an MVP level. Sign up today. Easy and exciting daily fantasy. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Let's continue this conversation here. Are those changes permanent for the Niners? Let's hear from the head coach in Kyle Shanahan. He's the one who makes a lot of these decisions. And he said this about the secondary on top of what he just said. I mean, we don't think anything long-term. It's always week to week, so I liked how it went last week. We'll see when we watch the film here for these next 48 hours what we think the best is on Wednesday. I know there was at least one play in that game, maybe 2, where Demo had to come out. Isaiah Oliver went right in. Didn't miss a beat. I think Isaiah played some real good ball for us this year too, so we've got some options. It all depends on who we're playing, and we'll see how this settles, but we're looking into it each week. For Kyle Shanahan to say that he thinks Isaiah Oliver has played good ball, he's just lying to us. Against the run, maybe. Doing his job against the pass, not at all. But Ambry Thomas against the Jacksonville Jaguars did do his job. Had a coverage grade according to Pro Football Focus of 82.3. That was the highest among all players on this Niners roster. He only allowed 14 yards through the air, 1 forced incompletion, 0 touchdowns allowed, and then one of the best plays of the game, one of the best plays of his career, 1 forced fumble, and he was able to pick up the rock on that forced fumble for a fumble recovery, and he should have had that walk-in touchdown if it wasn't for the bench coming onto the field. And why I said that about Isaiah Oliver and Kyle Shanahan's remarks about him, he is a problem for this football team. 4 games before getting benched by defensive coordinator Steve Wilks coming out of the bye, he had allowed a completion rate of 100%, targeted 8 times, gave up 8 catches, 71 yards and 2 touchdowns. His season completion percentage given up, 35 of 40, 87.5%, second worst among all corners in the NFL. Now, of course, with the secondary, if the pass rush is playing like it did against Jacksonville, that's a huge boost because Trevor Lawrence didn't have time to go through his progressions and pick apart that secondary. But if the secondary also increases its play and the talent back there is better, even a better result for this Niners defense. From defense to offense, let's talk about this offensive line here. Jon Feliciano started at left guard in place of Aaron Banks, out a couple of weeks because of that turf toe injury. Shanahan said San Francisco was already thinking about playing the longtime veteran who's played a lot throughout his career, Buffalo Bills, New York Giants, at center and at guard. And now the question becomes, will Feliciano, once Aaron Banks comes back to supplant him at left guard, to take over his spot once again, replace Spencer Burford at right guard? There have been massive problems on the right side of the offensive line of scrimmage for this Niners team here in 2023. Spencer Burford, the right guard, has been penalized 7 times. That's the second most among all guards in the NFL. And Burford, as well as Colton McKivitz, have allowed 45% of the Niners' pressures as a team this year just on the right side of the line of scrimmage. And Jon Feliciano fared very well against a very solid Jacksonville defensive line. Had an overall Pro Football Focus grade of 81.7, a pass blocking grade of 81.2. League average, by the way, is 70. A run blocking grade of 76.7. That was the highest overall grade for a Niners guard among all guards who have played for this team this year during this season. Now, the issue with right tackle, if you want to bench Colton McKivitz, he's also injured right now. According to Kyle Shanahan, he got rolled up on, so he's dealing with a knee and ankle injury. If you want to bench him, who takes that spot? And the Niners don't really have a lot of options to take that spot. Colton McKivitz's replacements would either be Jaylen Moore, who filled in nicely for Trent Williams when he was out with that ankle injury, or Matt Pryor, a longtime veteran who can only really play right tackle. So positionally, Matt Pryor makes sense. Talent and upside, Jaylen Moore makes sense. But at Western Michigan and with the Niners, he's primarily played on the left side. So making that pivot over to the right side is not easy at all. But Kyle Shanahan did not rule that out, that maybe Jaylen Moore could get in some reps at right tackle if McKivitz is unable to go. You have to think at this point, benching McKivitz is a reality because he's been awful this year, and you have to get better in protecting Brock Purdy, but also impacting this ground game as well. If you're still rocking with us on today's show, I want you to give me a real one down below. As always, we appreciate your support of the San Francisco 49ers Report, passing along all types of analysis and stats on today's show. And if you enjoyed it, let us know. If we can get better, let us know in the comments as well.